Let me ask you a question. What if that one lure, the one sitting in its own special spot in your tackle box, the one you'd bet your life on, is actually the reason you're not catching fish? It sounds crazy, I know, but today we are going to explore a hard truth that most anglers don't want to admit. Your most trusted winter lure might have stopped working, and you haven't even noticed. I promise you, by the end of this video, you will look at your entire tackle collection differently. We're going to uncover the hidden reasons why your go-to lure is failing, and it has nothing to do with luck. So, before we get into it, let me know in the comments, do you believe a lure can just expire? Let's see if you still think so in 20 minutes. Every seasoned angler has one. We call it Old Faithful. It's that specific jig, that perfectly chipped spoon, or that oddly colored rattling bait. It's the first thing we tie on in the morning and the last thing we cut off in frustration at the end of the day. This bond we form with a lure is powerful. It's built on a foundation of great memories, of days when we couldn't drop it down the hole fast enough. We trust it. This trust becomes a habit, and that habit becomes a rigid system. We stop thinking, we stop observing, and we just assume that what worked 10 years ago or even last season is a golden rule that can never be broken. But the world under the ice is anything but static, and clinging to these old beliefs is a surefire way to get left behind. Let's begin by addressing the Old Faithful trap itself. Picture this. It's dawn, the ice is quiet, and you're setting up over your favorite spot. You open your box, filled with dozens of options, but your hand moves on its own. It grabs that one lure without a moment of hesitation. You're not making a strategic choice based on the day's conditions, water clarity, or what your flasher is telling you. You're performing a ritual. You're relying on faith, not facts. This is the trap. The lure has become more than a tool. It has become a security blanket. It represents past success, and we instinctively believe it guarantees future success. But in fishing, guarantees don't exist, and relying on one is the first and most critical mistake we often make before the line even gets wet. Now let's talk about why we fall into this trap so easily. It's a psychological trick our own minds play on us called confirmation bias. You vividly remember that one incredible day 3 years ago when you caught your limit of walleye on that specific rattling spoon. That memory is burned into your brain in high definition. But what about the 15 other trips since then where that same spoon didn't produce a single fish? Our minds tend to dismiss those failures as a bad day, or the fish just weren't biting. We don't blame the lure. When it works just once, it confirms our belief that it's the best. We build a legend around a piece of plastic and metal based on a highlight reel, completely ignoring the hours of failure. This selective memory makes us feel confident, but it blinds us to the reality of the present moment. Think about this scenario. I bet it sounds familiar. You're out on the ice with a buddy. You're using Old Faithful, and he ties on some new, weird-looking lure you've never seen. For 2 hours, you catch nothing. Absolute silence on your end. Meanwhile, your buddy is pulling up perch after perch. What's your first reaction? It's not to change your lure, is it? No. You tell yourself he's just lucky. You say he must be on a slightly better spot, maybe just 5 feet away. You'll move a little, but you'll be damned if you take off the lure that has never let you down, except for the fact that it is currently, actively letting you down. You'll stick with it out of pure, stubborn pride until the day is almost over, because admitting your favorite lure is failing feels like admitting a personal defeat. So, here is the first major turning point in our thinking. Your favorite lure has transformed from a tool into a crutch. A tool is something you choose to use for a specific job. A crutch is something you lean on because you feel you can't succeed without it. When you use that lure as a crutch, you stop growing as an angler. You stop paying attention to the subtle clues the environment and the fish are giving you. You stop experimenting with different colors, sizes, or jigging actions. You've put all your eggs in one basket and you've forgotten how to even look for other baskets. The lure that once brought you so much success is now the very thing that is stunting your development and limiting your potential on the ice. It's a comfortable habit, but comfort rarely leads to a full bucket of fish. Now let's shift our focus from our own psychology to the world beneath our feet. It's time to talk about a changing world. The lake you're fishing today is not the same lake it was 5 years ago. It's not even the same lake it was last winter. We tend to view our fishing spots as timeless paintings, but they are living, breathing, and constantly evolving ecosystems. Subtle changes in weed growth patterns, the introduction of invasive species like zebra mussels that alter water clarity, or shifts in the primary forage base can completely rewrite the rulebook. The conditions that once made your go-to lure the perfect choice might have vanished entirely. Sticking to an old tactic in a new environment is like trying to use a map of an old city to navigate a new one. The streets have changed. One of the biggest changes on any popular body of water is the fishing pressure factor. Let's be realistic. You are not the only person who discovered that a number 5 jigging wrap in a perch pattern is effective. On any given weekend, a popular lake might see hundreds, if not thousands, of those exact same lures going up and down in the water column. Fish, especially larger, older fish, are not mindless eating machines. They demonstrate learned behavior. After seeing dozens of their companions get hooked on the same presentation, they begin to associate that specific size, color, and action with danger. Your secret weapon is no longer a secret. It's the most recognizable and easily avoided threat in their world. You're not tempting them. You're spooking them before they even get close. Beyond pressure, let's consider a simpler idea. The buffet has changed. The diet of predatory fish like walleye, pike, and perch can shift dramatically from year to year based on baitfish populations. Perhaps there was a huge hatch of young perch 3 years ago and everything was feeding on them. Your perch-patterned lure was a perfect imitation. But this year, due to environmental factors, the primary forage might be small shiners, smelt, or invertebrates. By continuing to offer them a perch steak, you're presenting a meal that isn't on the menu. It might still work on an aggressive, opportunistic fish, but the majority are looking for something that matches the hatch. You have to serve what they're eating, not what you wish they were eating. Your old lure might simply be the wrong item on the menu for this season. Let's dig deeper into the environment with water clarity and conditions. Many lakes across the country have become significantly clearer over the last decade. This is often due to invasive filter feeders like zebra and quagga mussels. While clear water might seem nice, it's a game changer for lure presentation. In the slightly stained water of the past, that bright, flashy chartreuse spoon you love was an attention-grabbing beacon. But in today's ultra-clear water, that same lure can be an unnatural, terrifyingly bright object that sends wary fish scattering. The very quality that once made it effective, its visibility, is now its greatest weakness. Natural, more subtle colors and smaller profiles often become far more effective in these new, high-visibility conditions. Your old lure is simply too loud for the new, quiet library. Okay, so let's get one thing straight. Fish aren't geniuses. They don't have board meetings to discuss which lures to avoid. But they are incredibly effective survival machines that learn through basic conditioning. It's the same principle as a dog learning that the sound of a bell means food is coming. For a fish, the process is just reversed. When a fish sees a certain lure, a specific flash, a particular wobble, and then experiences a moment of high stress, like being hooked or seeing another fish get hooked, it creates a negative association. This is a powerful, instinctual form of learning. It doesn't require complex thought, only a cause and effect connection between your lure and a threat. And the more popular a lure is, the more opportunities the fish have to make that negative connection. This leads us to a shocking but logical conclusion. Your lure has become a danger signal. On a heavily fished lake, your go-to lure might be the equivalent of a blaring alarm bell. Instead of triggering a feeding response, its signature action and color scheme trigger a flight response. Younger, dumber fish might still fall for it. But the larger, wiser trophy fish, the ones who have survived multiple seasons of fishing pressure, have learned the lesson. They have seen this show before and they know how it ends. You drop your lure down the hole thinking you're ringing the dinner bell, but what the big fish actually hear is a siren warning them to get out of the area as fast as possible. You are actively educating and repelling the very fish you are trying to catch. For a moment, I want you to stop thinking like an angler and try to think like a predator. Imagine you're a big walleye suspended in the murky depths. Your entire existence is based on a simple calculation. Is the energy gained from eating something worth the risk and energy expended to catch it? For years, you've seen this one specific, shiny, wobbly thing. Every time it appears, one of your buddies gets violently yanked up towards the bright ceiling. At first, you were curious. Now, you are conditioned. That object doesn't represent food anymore. It represents an unacceptable risk. A smaller, less common or more natural-looking offering, however, doesn't carry that same baggage. It's an unknown, and the risk-reward calculation might just tip in your favor. Your lure isn't failing because it has a bad action. It's failing because it has a bad reputation. This conditioning doesn't just happen to individual fish. It can influence the entire population through what we can call a generational shift. The fish that are easiest to catch on common, popular lures are the first ones to be removed from the system. Who is left? The more cautious, wary fish that were smart enough or lucky enough to avoid those presentations. These are the fish that survived to spawn, passing on their cautious genetics. Over years of heavy pressure with the same handful of lures, you are essentially selectively breeding a population of fish that is predisposed to avoiding those exact lures. You are, in effect, creating your own worst enemy. The lake's fish population has literally evolved to outsmart your favorite tactic. It's a slow, invisible process, but its effects are very real. All right, we've talked about our own psychology in the changing underwater world. Now for the hardest part. It's time to turn the mirror on ourselves, because sometimes the lure isn't the problem at all. The fish haven't changed, the lake hasn't changed. You have. Your unwavering faith in one lure has made you a lazy angler. You've stopped paying attention, you've stopped adapting, and you've stopped being an active predator. You've become passive, just hoping the lure will do all the work for you. It's a tough pill to swallow, but recognizing this is the most important step towards breaking the slump and becoming a better fisherman. The problem might just be staring back at you from your reflection in the ice. Let me introduce you to the autopilot angler. This is the fisherman you become when you rely too heavily on one lure. You sit on your bucket staring at your rod tip, and you jig exactly the same way you did 10 years ago. A quick snap, a pause. A quick snap, a pause. You do it for hours on end without a single thought about what the fish might actually want today. Maybe they want a slower, more subtle lift. Maybe they want it pounded into the silt on the bottom. Maybe they want it held perfectly still for 30 seconds, but you'll never know because you're not experimenting. You're just going through the motions. Your body is on the ice, but your mind is somewhere else. You're not actively fishing, you're just putting in time, and there's a huge difference between the two. This autopilot mode leads to a dangerous side effect. You start forgetting the fundamentals of fishing. Your reliance on the magic lure makes you ignore what your electronics are telling you. You see a fish come in on the flasher and immediately mark you, but instead of changing your jigging cadence or lure color, you just assume it wasn't a hungry fish. You stop considering the time of day, the weather patterns, or the barometric pressure. All the subtle arts of angling get pushed aside in favor of blind faith in your lure. You've stopped being a detective, piecing together clues to solve the puzzle of the day's bite. You've become a security guard, just watching the clock and waiting for something to happen. The lure has made your other more important skills completely rusty. This all boils down to one of the most important hard truths in fishing. Lures do not catch fish, anglers catch fish. A lure is an inanimate object. It is a tool no different from a hammer or a screwdriver. The most expensive, technologically advanced lure in the world is absolutely useless if it's presented incorrectly. Conversely, a skilled angler can catch fish on a simple, bare hook if they understand how to present it. The magic is never in the lure itself. The magic is in the hands and the mind of the person holding the rod. It's in the ability to observe, to adapt, and to make the right decision at the right moment. Blaming a lack of bites on the fish or the weather is easy. Admitting that you, the angler, are the problem is hard, but it's the only path to real improvement. So after all of this, what's the solution? Should you go home, gather up all your old, trusted lures, and have a ceremonial bonfire? Absolutely not. That would be just as foolish as using them blindly. Your old faithful isn't suddenly a piece of garbage. Its inherent action, color, and design are likely still very effective under the right set of circumstances. The problem isn't the lure, it's your relationship with it. The solution is not to throw it away, but to demote it. It can no longer be the undisputed king of your tackle box. It needs to be taken down from its pedestal and put back in its place as just one of many tools available to you. Its role needs to change from the default starter to a specific problem solver. Instead of abandonment, let's talk about the power of the tweak. If you suspect your go-to lure is being ignored, don't immediately switch to something completely different. Try a small adjustment first. If you always use a plain hook, try tipping it with a minnow head or a wax worm. If you always use the 2-inch version, try the 1.5-inch model. The most powerful tweak of all is often color. If that perch pattern is getting snubbed, try a silver and blue or a more natural-looking white or black. Often it's not the lure's action the fish are wary of, but the specific, common color they see every day. A simple color swap can be just enough to break the negative conditioning and turn a looker into a biter without abandoning the lure's effective action. Here is a practical strategy you can use on your very next trip. Implement the second string rule. When you get to your first spot of the day, you are forbidden from tying on your number 1 go-to lure. You must start with your second, third, or even fourth favorite option. Force yourself to build confidence in other presentations. This does 2 things. First, it makes you a more versatile and adaptable angler. Second, it saves your old faithful for when you might really need it. You can use it as a change-up later in the day or on a different spot. By not showing it to the fish first thing in the morning, you keep its power intact. It becomes a strategic play, not an automatic habit. You'll be amazed at how well your other lures work when you finally give them a real chance. Finally, we arrive at the real secret weapon in fishing. It's not a lure. It was never a lure. The single most effective tool in your entire arsenal is sitting right between your ears. It's your brain. Your ability to observe what's happening on your electronics, your willingness to experiment with different approaches, and your courage to abandon a tactic that isn't working. That is what catches fish consistently. A tackle box full of magic lures is worthless without an active, engaged mind to guide them. Stop looking for a magic bullet and start embracing the process of being a thinking angler. That shift in mindset will catch you more fish over your lifetime than any single piece of tackle ever could. The lure is just the messenger. You are the one who has to write the message. So, let's wrap this all up. We've gone on quite a journey. We've seen how our own minds can trick us with confirmation bias, how fish populations learn and adapt to pressure, and how our own lazy habits can be the biggest enemy. The most critical takeaway, the real plot twist here, is that your favorite lure isn't dead, but your blind, unquestioning faith in it should be. It's time to change your relationship with your gear. Stop seeing it as a collection of magic charms and start seeing it as a toolbox. Every tool has a specific purpose, and no single tool is right for every job. This realization is what separates the consistently successful anglers from the ones who just get lucky once in a while. It's a change that will force you to be more present, more observant, and ultimately a much better fisherman. Thank you so much for sticking with me through this. If this changed the way you look at your tackle box, hit that like button and make sure you're subscribed for more content that goes against the grain. Now for my final question. What is that one old faithful lure in your box that, after watching this, you know you need to give a break? Drop its name in the comments below. Let's start a conversation.